All right, guys, welcome back. We've been taking a week off here with Wild Card Weekend, taking a little bit of time to rest and think about things and plan for the future a little bit more. But with today, guys, we're going to be doing our official follow up on our offensive draft special. For those that are familiar with the draft special, it's under our live section, some of our playlists. This is the course. We were primarily focusing on guys that were going to be day 2, day 3 picks. We also left out a lot of guys who we thought were going to be borderline second round picks. You'll see a few guys here and there that were in there for specific reasons, like Brent, who ended up with the Colts in the second round. Because he visited all these different teams. But guys like Rashee Rice, Josh Downs, and some of these other guys got left off that list. But let's get started with it. So honestly, guys, we got to start, of course, with the quarterbacks, right? Uh, the quarterback's going to be a little interesting. Not a lot of these guys got much. Of course, Hendon Hooker was one of our first guys we featured on the draft special. Selected in the third round, 68th overall by the Detroit Lions. Of course, placed on injury reserve, basically given a red shirt year, like when the Ravens selected David Ojabo in the second round the previous year. I'm telling you, Jared Goff's by no means playing bad. But if he ever starts to slip, this guy's sitting in the wings starting next year. So we're excited for him. We talked about it all throughout the season. My boy Tyson Bagent, the undrafted rookie free agent, ended up signing with the Chicago Bears. And with the injuries that happened to the Chicago Bears, Tyson Bagent was given, of course, 5 starts in the NFL, 2 wins, 3 losses. 65.7 completion percentage, 859 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So, coming from such a tiny school, we were so happy to see this young man make a team. After the draft, I'm telling you, it was hard to find stats on this dude. He was such a small school. So when people were like, "Oh, who would have thought Tyson Bagent?" We did over here. Of course, we got our boy DTR, looked really good in college, looked really good in the preseason. Preseason, as you see right there on the bottom of the screen, 440 yards, 2 touchdowns, 63.8 completion percentage. But the poor dude, he started against the Ravens and, you know, uh, just got absolutely destroyed in that game. He got beat up his rookie season. I feel bad for that young man. The Browns could have been something. Stetson Bennett, of course, we really thought he might end up in Baltimore as a backup quarterback with Todd Monken. Of course, it looks like he knew something else. Selected in the 4th round by the Rams. They placed him on the reserve non-football illness list. When talked about it, Sean McVay, kind of just brushes it off. Seems like he's trying to give the young man privacy. Supposedly, the rumors are that he had alcohol issues, but we're not going to speculate too much on that. Maybe we'll see him back next season. And the last quarterback we had on our draft special, selected 5th round by the Arizona Cardinals. That's Clayton Tune or Tune. 57.1 completion. Only got 1 start versus the Browns, 62 yards. It was bad, dude. I was so excited for him, and then he got wrecked. He, of course, came in last place of all rookie quarterbacks that were eligible, I believe. So not a good look at the quarterback, honestly, if you keep it honest. But we're hoping maybe some of these other guys, their second year. Of course, I believe Aiden McConnell might have been leading behind, of course, C.J. Stroud. Now, running backs, we looked really good. So we're going to start, guys, just real quick, just running down these rookie running backs. Of course, this is PFF with minimum snaps eligible, basically. So leading the pack, we had Devon Achane, Tyjae Spears, number 1, number 2 slot. Jahmyr Gibbs coming in number 3. And then I'm just going to 4 through 7. Amari DeMarcado, Zach Carbonet, Bijan Robinson, and Roscoe Johnson. We featured a couple of those guys on our draft special. 2 third-round picks leading the way this year for the rookies. Even an undrafted guy on that list. But honorable mentions, as you see on the bottom of the board, if you remove those snap counts and then I think it's 50 to 100, somewhere around there, snaps, Keaton Mitchell, of course, actually led the league in PFF grade. Jaleel McConnell, the undrafted free agent for the Broncos on that list. Chris Rodriguez, a 5th-round pick from the Commanders. And then, of course, another guy we featured on this draft special, Chase Brown. We got it highlighted there. If you're watching on the draft special here today, not just listening in, you can see on the screen we've got highlighted. That's going to be like 4th round and lower, kind of taking an emphasis on some pretty good players across the board. But let's start with my boy Devon Achane, of course, selected in the 3rd round by the Miami Dolphins, 84th overall. Was leading the league in rushing in that number 1 attack before he had the injury and got put on IR. Came back and was playing strong, of course, till they met their cold demise in KC. 102 carries, 804 yards, 8 touchdowns, averaging 7.9 yards per average. 22 runs of 10 plus, 29 forced missed tackles, as well as adding on 28 receptions for 193 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm not going to harp on this anymore. We talked about him in the draft special. 3rd round is exactly where we would have liked him, honestly. Congrats to the young man. But this is one of those ones where I'm like licking my chops, guys, because we were watching Keaton Mitchell because he got picked up on our radar by some visits, early in the draft process. So we started honing in on him. Went undrafted. Had the fastest 10-yard split of all the running backs at the combine. Of course, had some injuries at the beginning of the season. The Baltimore Ravens were really scared this young man was going to get taken from him if he got put on practice squad. Got his first start in November. Finished the season 47 carries, 396 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 8.5 yards per rush, 5.68 yards after contact, and had 12 rushes of 10-plus yards. And, of course, he had that huge debut with a 138-yard game. I would have swung a 7th round on Keaton sitting there. Kind of how the Ravens traded back into the draft for a 7th round pick. I would have thought about it, to be honest with you. So coming up 3rd on this list is going to be Tyjae Spears, another guy taken in the 3rd round. Pick number 81 by the Tennessee Titans. When Derrick Henry was having, some issues, we saw his snap count increase. And Tyjae, of course, finished as one of the best, supposedly 18th overall running back in the NFL. And that's with qualifying snaps. So for a 3rd round pick, that's pretty good. 100 carries, 452 yards, 4.5 yard per average carry, 13 runs of 10 plus, 26 forced missed tackles. So almost the same amount as Devon Achane, but with like 20 pounds extra, basically a much larger upper frame. But they're also a constant target out of the backfield for the Tennessee Titans. 52 catches, 385 yards, and a touchdown. Zach Charbonnet, I did not expect to be a 2nd round pick, to be honest with you. He ended up being one, selected by the Seattle Seahawks, ranked actually as the 38th overall running back by PFF this season, so not a bad pick. 462 yards, 4.3 yards per average carry. Not too bad, honestly. But one of the steals we mentioned earlier, Chase Brown, selected in the 5th round by the Bengals, pick 163. He's started on IR and then got some late carries in the season. 44 carries, 179 yards, 4.1 yard average, but 14 catches out of 15 targets for 156 yards and a touchdown, showing he can kind of do a little bit of everything out of the backfield. I just like that young man, honestly. And I believe we got, 2 more here. Evan Hull, of course, ended up on IR, selected in the 5th round by the Colts, pick 176. Colts fans were really excited about this young man. Like I said, knee injury landed him on IR, was expected to really take over that backfield with Jonathan Taylor holding out. But now that he signed an extension, he's definitely going to be getting very few snaps. And the last guy, Tank Bigsby, selected in the 3rd round by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, not a terrible, more of that goal line back, if I'm not mistaken, for them. As you can see, 50 carries, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not much of a average. For a third round pick, that's a little high. I would not have taken Tank in a third round situation, to be 100% honest with you. Evan in the fifth, I'm happy with. Chase in the fifth, I'm happy with. Carbon in the second, I'm not. Just, So again, we mentioned some guys like again Sam Laporta. Everyone knew how good Sam Laporta was. I don't think anyone needed like there was certain tiers of tight ends, and Sam was basically the bottom of the tier one, start of the tier two. Basically, Dalton Kincaid was the only guy I really considered tier one, and you can see he's right behind Sam Laporta this season. Might be a little better blocker, but I don't know about that. Again, congratulations to Sam Laporta, though. Broke the tight end records. What was it for receiving yards for a rookie this season, if I'm not mistaken? But so just running down, of course, not our draft special, but just the rookie tight ends, how they finished. Of course, everyone knows Sam Laporta finished number one. He ranked as the 7th best overall tight end, not just among rookies. Dalton Kincaid, the first round pick by the Bills, coming in 20th overall. And then shout out to Tucker Kraft, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit, finished 33rd overall. Part of that 2 tight ends that were drafted by the Green Bay Packers, and he's having some payouts here in playoff time. Honorable mention, Davis Allen would have actually been 5th on this list, but he didn't meet the snap requirement. Some of these guys definitely might have been taken a little too early, but with tight ends, usually the first year is pretty hard. But let's talk about my boy, Tucker Kraft. Of course, 3rd round pick by the Packers, 78th overall. Honestly, again, 3rd, pretty happy with that pick. 31 receptions, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 11.5 yards per reception, and then 7.5 yards after catch per reception. This was a dude, didn't quite have the tape, but his immeasurables. He was predicted to light up the combine, and he kind of did. I love his immeasurables. I love his size, and I think he's fitting well in that Green Bay offense, honestly. We mentioned Davis Allen was going to be an honorable mention. He was part of our draft special as well. The tight end out of Clemson got selected in the 5th round by the Los Angeles Rams, 175th overall. 3rd on the depth chart, but actually I think started getting some play there at the end. 10 catches, 95 yards, and a touchdown, averaging almost 9.5 yards a catch, but a lot of yak as well. Of course, Cameron Latu ended up in the 3rd round pick by the San Francisco 49ers, 101st overall. Had a knee injury early, so was placed on IR. I know they're looking forward to him next year, really what he'll be able to do with Kittle in that offense. Of course, Zach Kuntz, another guy that was expected to light it up at the combine, selected 7th round by the New York Jets, 220th overall. Again, I love that pick. He was originally part of the final roster cuts, got re-signed to the Jets practice squad, and then elevated to the 3rd string here at the end of the season. Of course, and he did light up the combine, as you can see there on the screen. This man, I'm telling you, I think if he'd gotten a chance with Aaron Rodgers, I think they would have been dunking on people. I think this guy, if he can... I see he comes from if I'm not mistaken, Old Dominion. He comes from a tiny school. If he can really fill out better and learn that playbook, and that's the biggest thing with veterans. You got to know the playbook or Aaron Rodgers will hate you. If he can learn it, this guy might have some serious potential. Last guy, I believe, on our draft special for tight ends, Dakota Allen. He switched from quarterback to tight end. A knee injury kept him out of the Senior Bowl. I don't think he's even on a roster. He worked out for the Falcons. We're rooting for you, my guy. Another room, though, we had a lot of work in on our offensive draft special was the wide receiver room. So, of course, on the screen, we've got just the list of top 15 wide receiver rookies. I'm not really going to run through all of these. We predicted Rashee Rice to do well. We predicted Tank Dell to do well. The obvious, of course, guys that were missed, Puka Nacua, the 5th round pick of the Rams. Dontavian Wicks, 5th round pick by the Packers. Part of that huge reason they had one of the best draft classes. He's actually ranked 22nd best wide receiver, not among rookies overall in the NFL. Demario Douglas having a pretty good year for the Patriots, 6th round pick. My boy, my boy Bryant Culp's guy, Jake Bobo, the undrafted rookie free agent that signed with the Seattle Seahawks, has been a standout for them, ranked 39th overall. Um, and then of course A.T. Perry, the 6th round pick by the Saints, one of those other like late round guys. But of course, like I said, I'm not going to run through all those names here on the screen. But we are going to also work through the guys that we had covered in our pre-draft special a little bit that might not be here. Keep an eye though, the name A.T. Perry is going to come up in quite a few of these comparisons. The 15th ranked rookie. Um, so of course Nathaniel Tank Dell, was could have been a late 2nd round pick, slid into the 3rd round. Ended up being he's still balling out for the Houston Texans as we're going to see him at M&T Bank Stadium this Saturday at 4:30. 3rd round pick by the Houston Texans, 69th overall, 47 receptions, 709 yards, 7 touchdowns, averaging 15.1 yards per reception. That 14th overall wide receiver rank is not among rookies. That's NFL. So to have a 3rd round pick in the top 15 wide receivers, mwah. And again, if you didn't watch the actual live draft special, you can see there at the top of the screen, I had 5 teams that I thought did a really good job and won the draft. And of course, 3 out of those 5 teams are mentioned in NFL's article of the best 5 draft classes. My top 5 that caught my eye was Detroit, Pittsburgh, Philly, Houston, Seattle, with interesting drafts from Tennessee and New York. Of course, looking back at it, I should have acknowledged how good those first 3 picks by the Rams were, honestly. And then the other team that slid in there, of course, was Green Bay. I liked some of their later picks like Colby Wooden, and I believe they had offensive linemen I liked as well. But of course, I miss guys like Dontavion Wicks. But of course, Tucker Kraft being part of that offense now. But anyway, so we had Nathaniel Tank Dell. Marvin Mims Jr., drafted actually in the 2nd round by the Broncos, 63rd overall. With Russell Wilson and that Broncos offense to be finished 73rd overall wide receivers, 22 catches, 377 yards, averaging 17.1 yards a catch. Not too bad. 2nd round might have been a little too high for him. A stretch by the Broncos, but we'll see what year 2 brings and what the quarterback situation brings in Denver next year. Of course, we all know the situation going on there with Russ. Tyler Scott, selected by the Chicago Bears in the 4th round, 133rd overall. Finished the year only with 9 catches for 77 yards, 8.6 yards reception. Basically the backup to DJ Moore, who balled out. I'm sorry, that's the old. I'm sorry, I forgot to delete that. That's the old halfway through the season. Finished the year with 17 catches, 168 yards. Actually finished with enough snaps to qualify. 115th overall wide receiver. Not the best, but I'll take it. Again, let's see what he does next year. So one of our guys actually ended up on the San Francisco I should say another guy ended up on the San Francisco 49ers. Selected in the 7th round, 253rd, Brandon Ayuk's backup, Ronnie Bell. Ronnie really wasn't catching my eye. Of course, let me see here. And we were live during the draft, and it was during the offensive line drills. My PC hit a blue screen of death. But we were of course taking notes. Can't see it really on all of the throws and stuff by the wide receivers. I think I got a little carried away watching the quarterbacks more on day 2. Because didn't like the day 1 quarterbacks much. Of course, day 2 quarterbacks had C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Aiden McConnell, Tanner McKee, DTR, Clayton Tune. Like day 2 quarterbacks were like the watch show. But Ronnie Bell had a crazy one-handed snag while he was sitting in line. that honestly caught it drew some awes from the crowd. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of those ones I was like, dude seems like he got sticky good hands and like quick reflex, twitchy reflex. Uh, so Brandon Ayuk's main backup, only 6 catches for 68 yards, but 3 touchdowns in those 6 catches, 11.3 yards a catch. So I know towards the end of the season, the Niner fans were getting a little excited about him. And again, we mentioned that A.T. Perry on the 15th of the rookies. He actually finished ahead of A.T. Perry on PFF grades, but he didn't technically hit the snap qualifier. One of my favorite guys ended up actually in Cincinnati, 6th-round pick by the Cincinnati Bengals, 206 overall. Andre Iosivas, the 6'3" guy out of Princeton. I'm telling you, when I was watching this guy run routes at the combine, I was like, man, this tiny guy is quick, bro. He is fast. And then I saw that he was 6'3" on his measurements later on and threw up 19 on the bench press. And I was like, hold up a minute. This kid might have something. Of course, he's listed behind T. Higgins on the depth chart, and the Bengals, especially after Joe Burrow, not quite the team. 15 catches for 116 yards for 4 touchdowns. Again, also finished ahead of A.T. Perry, but didn't have enough snaps. If one of those guys leaves in free agency from Cincinnati, I'm telling you, keep an eye on this kid. He's literally about the same size, might even be a little faster out of his breaks. Watch this kid, and he's a Princeton kid, so I know you know he's got to be smart. Kayshon Boutte ended up selected by the New England Patriots, 6th round, 187th. Juju Smith-Schuster's back up. It was an anemic offense from New England. Only had 2 receptions. We're really hoping maybe next year he'll get a shot. And of course, the last guy on our wide receivers, which I think was our longest list, Jadon Hasselwood. Another guy I added just last minute after watching the combine. Didn't look like he had great speed, great acceleration, but looked like he had decent size, and he looked like he had just really natural and soft hands. Went undrafted, got signed by the Eagles, but they released him. I do not think he's on an active roster currently. So good luck, young man. All right, 2 last positions. We did tackles and then offensive and interior offensive line because there weren't a lot of true centers. There was only like 3 true centers in this draft. So we're not even going to cover the centers. So we're almost through this, guys. But the rookie tackles, again, not going off our draft special, just in general. I cannot believe, and I'm sorry I forgot to put that extra A there. Dawan Jones ended up in the 4th round. That was one of the head scratchers for me. I believe if we went back during the draft special, I was sitting there just gawking at it that he made it through the 3rd, honestly. And then again, selected 111th in the 4th. Finished 1st among rookie tackles. Absolute steal by the Browns. Other guys to kind of keep an eye on, Wanya Morris, actually 3rd round pick by the Chiefs, 5th among rookie tackles. And then, you got some later round guys there rounding up the very bottom of the rookie tackles among qualifying snaps. Carter Warren, Blake Freeland, Jalen Duncan. Now it says 7th, 8th, 9th guys, but that's literally like the only tackles that are qualifying. But special shout outs to Dawan Jones, Darnell Wright, and Paris Johnson. The 49th over, so you can see the far side of the screen. Dawan Jones, of course, 1st among rookie tackles, 49th among tackles active. So considering there's 2 tackles for 32 teams, 64. Not terrible for a rookie tackle to finish 49th. Darnell Wright and Paris Johnson also make it into those top grades as well. But let's talk about some of these guys. So a lot of these guys, when we featured them in draft specials, so a lot of tackles got moved to interior offensive line. Some of the interior offensive line, actually, I think one of them got moved outside. But Blake Freeland, one of those guys, selected 4th round by the Colts, 106th pick, listed up as their backup right tackle. He had to start due to some injuries. He's listed as the 80th overall tackle. So not the best, but considering backup that probably needed a little bit of time to develop in the NFL, coming out of what I believe BYU, if I remember correctly. Um, Not terrible, third round pick. I would have definitely taken day one, but I think Blake might have a great future potential as a left tackle, but we'll have to see about it. Of course, Cody Mock, one of these tackles that got moved into guard, selected in the second round by Tampa Bay, 48th overall. Of course, they moved him to right guard where he's starting for Tampa, who got their playoff win over the Eagles. The 75th ranked overall guard, nasty run blocker. Or actually, I think he's actually excelling in pass blocking, if I'm not mistaken. But he's a tough, gritty guy, dude. So we're excited to see him in the playoffs and doing well. I honestly feel like I could have, started an entire offensive line out of some of these picks, but second round might have been a little high. I really thought he was going to be like third round, to be honest with you, interior offensive lineman, but I think they're started or run with guys like Osiris Torrance and coming off the board. Tyler Steen, the right tackle or the tackle out of Alabama, absolute stalwart, selected third round, 65th pick by the Philadelphia Eagles, moved from tackle to guard. I thought that was a little interesting. Great run blocking, like you can see there, 64.1 run grade, but 21.9 pass grade. Might have been one of the reasons why they struggled in the playoffs. Hopefully we'll see, if he does better like next year. Of course, he finished above guys like Bradford and TJ Base, which we'll cover those in the interior offensive lineman here. Because, like I said, a lot of these tackle prospects got moved to guard. Some of these were predicted, some of these were not predicted. Got his first start versus the Cowboys, was looking good, and then did not finish well. Here's one of the guys we predicted to move inside, and the Commanders were like, nah. Braden Daniels, the tackle out of Utah, a lot of analysts predicted him to move inside the guard. Fourth round pick, 118th overall by the Commanders. Tore his rotator cuff early, so we never really got to see him at all. Hopefully, we'll be looking forward to him next season. But again, move him inside. But 294, he's got to put on weight if he's going to move inside. And I believe one of our last tackle prospects, Nick Saldiveri, I believe another one of these Old Dominion guys, fourth round pick by the Saints, 130 overall. They converted him to right guard. He's backing up Cesar Ruiz. He's played some limited snaps, 59.9 run grade, struggling in pass protection. Again, above guys like Bradford and TJ Bass, who we'll cover in the guard section, but did not meet the snap requirement. So you keep hearing me say those names, TJ Bass and Bradford. That's because they were guards that stayed as guards. Of course, we got the rookie guards here. Sidney Sal, the fourth round pick, 117th overall by the New England Patriots, actually fitting 28th among guards in the NFL. So Belichick out of the Patriots, but actually they had some pretty good picks this year. I wonder what else going into that. TJ Bass, the undrafted rookie free agent, picked up by the Cowboys. Finishing sixth among guards for rookies. Pretty well. Steve Avila, the second round pick by the Rams, really played out. 34th overall guard in the NFL. Part of that great rookie Rams class. And then it's Osiris Torrance, the second round pick by the Bills, finishing 52nd overall for guards. So that's pretty exciting for them. Again, not going to mention all those names, but you'll see guys like Cody Mock down there, ninth among rookie guards. Juice Ruggs, eighth among rookie guards. Anthony Bradford. Some of these guys that you're going to see in the draft special. So we talked just about his name. Juice Scruggs out of Penn State, drafted second round by Houston Texans. He was placed on IR early, came back. He was the backup center. He was going to be the starter, listed as the backup center because the rookie Jarrett Patterson was playing so overall. I believe they moved him to guard, which might be why the Texans are playing pretty well. 65th overall guard. Anthony Bradford, of course, ended up in Seattle, fourth round pick, 108th overall by the Seattle Seahawks. listed as the backup right guard, but I think he actually moved into the starting position. Finished 63rd overall guard. So not terrible. And again, part of these interior offensive lineman guys that we could have picked up. Juice got picked before I probably would have picked him in the second, but it'd be like that. We probably could have got Anthony maybe before the Seahawks at 108th. So Chandler Zavala, you'll see 4th-round pick, 114th overall. Left guard of the Panthers. He was carted off the field after a scary injury. Finished 80th overall for guards. Not that great, but we're hoping maybe he'll develop into something. 4th round might have been a little too high for him. 5th round, I definitely would have been happy with. And of course, we covered Andrew Voorhees. We were live during the combine when he went down with that injury. Of course, the Baltimore Ravens traded back into the 23 NFL draft, 229th overall to take him. He really might be the future of the right guard position for the Baltimore Ravens, and we're ecstatic about it. So we'll see what he has next year. Of course, he was basically redshirted all year with that injury. And our final interior offensive lineman, Jake Andrew, was selected 4th round by the New England Patriots, 107th overall, listed as a backup center, just like a lot of these guys. Great run blocker, but struggled in pass blocking. Another one of these guys that did not meet the minimum snap requirement, but finished above Bradford and TJ Bass, in their limited snaps. So, we had a lot of guys that actually finished kind of basically in that 5th to 7th range among rookie guards, kind of outside the top 50 to 60 potentially. If they'd gotten maybe more snaps or depending on, certain things that happened. Honestly, my impressions of my first offensive draft special. I definitely had some technical issues during the combine, like we talked about. We hit a blue screen of death on the offensive lineman. We definitely, as the draft and the combine went on, our notes got better, more detailed, more organized. We're really looking forward to doing the second draft special here coming up soon. Of course, I believe yesterday was the deadline to declare for the NFL draft. So we'll have a more shaped picture coming soon of exactly what we're going to be looking at here in these draft specials. But let me know, guys, what y'all thought. Did I miss anything? Who are you looking at for in this next draft? At least we'll talk offense currently. Of course, tomorrow we're going to have the follow-up on our defensive draft special. So if you liked it, make sure you come back and follow up. And a lot of these are a lot harder to do because it's easy to say, oh, I would have took this guy in the 3rd. Oh, I would have took this guy in the 4th. The draft, the beauty and the hardship of the draft is truly because of all the moving parts. Everyone trading up and down, runs starting. We definitely probably saw a run on some of those interior offensive linemen in the 2nd round, based upon just how the picks were going. I know one of the things as a Baltimore fan I'm looking forward to in this next draft, in the 2024 draft, is that there's potentially might be a lot of quarterbacks taken in the 1st round. And if there are, it just means that many more skilled position players will drop into the later rounds. Of course, we're hoping to be picking 32nd overall. But with that, guys, thank you for dropping in here on Darwin's Raven. It's always a pleasure. I'm, of course, Darwin's Raven, aka D-Rave, aka Levi. And we're going to, of course, be covering our divisional matchup. Houston Texans coming to Baltimore to take on the number 1 Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium. CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans are no joke. You can never count them out. Like Harbaugh said, they are 17-game different team than they were when we met them week 1. And, they had a really good draft class, and it takes some time to grow. Everyone knows that. Look, you can go back and watch Kyle Hamilton's first year and his first few games, like in the Miami game, and watch how he's grown. So we're looking forward to it. We'll see y'all tomorrow, and hope everyone has a great, Monday? No, it's Tuesday. That's right. I forgot. We took Monday off too. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hump day tomorrow.